Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Mount Olympus on this beautiful May 17th. Now, I'm sure some of you guys are already a little bit sick of this mountain, but you know, it's been a while since I visited here, and I've had time to learn a lot more about botany and a little bit, at least, about video making. And if we can get some stuff out of revisiting this mountain, so let's jump right into the video today and see what we can find. Now, to start, the general habitat we're in is the mountain brush zone. It's a habitat found throughout the Rockies, but mainly the lower Rockies. And it's sort of like the pinyon juniper in terms of climate that it faces, although it's normally found higher up, and it's not quite the same thing, but it is in a sense very similar. And that's a very low forest. And here the dominant species for mountain brush is Quercus gambelii, the Gambel Oak. It's just starting to leaf out and produce its flowers, or as I should say, inflorescence, which is a collection of flowers, but you know, not exactly the same thing. It's little tendrils hanging down there. And you can see it's quite dominant throughout here. All that light green you see growing on the mountainside is Quercus gambelii. Here in the mountain brush zone, it generally just grows very thick as a very low forest or tall scrubland plant, while in the Colorado Plateau and the wetter areas where it's also commonly found, it mainly grows in these medium height thickets that are not very large but quite dense. Although they can also grow that way here. I mean, that's sort of a thicket of taller Gambel Oak, and you'll find thickets like that all throughout the wetter areas of the pinyon juniper forest in the Colorado Plateau. The Gambel Oak was really only found in, I think, 4 corner states. I think also one random spot in Texas where it somehow got to, but no one exactly knows how that happened. Really great plant that provides a lot of food for many animals. Oh, Jesus, you hear that? Someone's dog is coming. But anyways, it provides a lot of food for animals, or food for a lot of animals throughout the forest here. Not exactly the leaves because they're too full of tannins, but the acorns, which I believe also have tannins but a lot of fat, are great food for things like squirrels. I believe deer like to munch on them, and I'm sure some other animals like them a lot. Now let's move on to the wildflowers we can find. So the first wildflower I'm talking about today doesn't even have its petals anymore, so it's not exactly a wildflower at this point, at least some might say, but it's got its developing seed capsule. It is the yellow glacier lily, also known as the avalanche lily, or sometimes just the glacier lily, or yellow avalanche lily. It's got a bunch of different names. I don't really care to name them all. But regardless, it's not in bloom anymore because it's just not the right season for it. It's one of the earliest blooming plants at this elevation. And if in a normal year, it'll be starting to come out of the ground by early April, maybe even late March. And once it's done, of course. Some plants will continue to bloom once they start until it's too cold for them to do so. This plant does not like to do that. It does, however, have its green leaf still because it's trying to soak up energy from the sun as much as it can and send it down to its bulb, because all that energy it can capture now will be used to punch up from the soil during the next spring. And the more it can store, the better time it's going to have and the bigger it can get, for instance. Now, it'll basically keep its leaves out until it gets dry in the June, July part of the summer, at which point the leaf will just dry up and send all the rest of its nutrients that it can down to the bulb and just go totally dormant for the year. And that nutrients or energy it stores as sugar is why the bulb is such a delicious sweet treat for animals and people, mostly animals, of course. Let's move on. Now for two of the most abundant wildflowers you'll find in this habitat, especially in the drier aspects. This guy first is Phlox longifolius, also known as the Longleaf Phlox. That's a common name. It's a species you can find really all throughout the West, quite commonly, and it's a member of the family Lomatium, as all phloxes are. And one of the features that really I think sets phloxes apart most of the time is the salviform corolla, which is basically a corolla. I'm going to show you right here. The petals come straight up from the point of attachment and then are bent at a 90-degree angle, as you can see there. So it's a bit of an important term for identifying flowers, I guess. But that's what it looks like. Not a very big plant, but a very hardy one for sure. And the other guy today, Hackelia floribunda. This one's a member of the family Boraginaceae. Now, Hackelia is a genus I'm more familiar with at higher elevations. In the Wasatch, there's 2 species you'll find. I think Hackelia micrantha and Hackelia potens. I'm not sure you can tell them apart. It's actually pretty difficult to tell the two apart, but those ones have blue flowers and look quite a lot like the related bluebells, honestly, but not exactly the same. and it produces these annoying sticky seeds, like the those you'll find on, I guess, Sinoglossum officinale, what's that fucking plant called? The hound's tongue? Yeah, that guy. That's an annoying one. Annoying seeds that will stick to your clothing. Regardless, I don't think this plant does that though. I've not seen it happen yet, but this thing gets a little bit larger too, I should say. About 2 feet tall, maybe even 3 feet tall at the max. Another classic shrub of the mountain brush zone is this guy, Amelanchier utahensis, a plant I've talked about before. In fact, I probably talked about this exact specimen before, commonly known as the Utah serviceberry. It's got these lovely rose family flowers in bloom this time of year, of course. And although it's quite similar to the other native species of serviceberry, the Saskatoon serviceberry, Amelanchier anlifolius, there are some ways you can tell it apart, mainly by having larger leaves and larger flowers in the other species. But this guy, I think the most surefire way is to know that this species has 2 to 4 stamens per flower, while the anlifolia, the Saskatoon serviceberry, has 5 stamens per flower typically. You get fairly large, almost tree-like in some instances, as that one is. Yeah, pretty good plant. It's found in fairly hardy areas, but not super hardy, of course. As we move around the more shaded side of the mountain brush belt, the plant can change, of course, and one species that you'll find more and more as it gets shadier is this guy, Lomatium dissectum, a member of the family Apiaceae, of course. Its compound umbel should give that away. Another one I've talked about quite a lot, this guy can get up to about 5 feet tall at times. Right here though, it's probably only get like 2, maybe 3 feet at best, but probably only 2 feet tall ever. Really good plant, of course. I think it's edible, but don't quote me on that for sure. The genus is known as biscuitroot for a reason. And this guy, of course, is a Crepis. And just look how nice and Seussian those leaves are. I mean, seriously, they look like something straight out of Dr. Seuss. I don't think I ever see such weird, wavy, curvy teeth on a plant as you will on this one. And of course, it's a member of the subfamily of Asteraceae, the, what's it called, Chicoraidaceae, so it produces milky sap, and if it producing flowers right now, they'd have all ray flowers, or all ray florets, and no disc florets, which gives it a very unique appearance for a subfamily. Alright, let's carry on. Alright, now that I've come around the side of the mountain, it's gotten a lot shadier as the mountain blocks the sun from evaporating. Lots of precipitation and moisture in the soil. You get even more moisture-loving plants like this guy, Hydrphyllum capitatum, member of Boraginaceae, but formerly Hydrphyllaceae used to be its own independent family before it was realized it really belonged in Boraginaceae. Got these nice ball capitate flowers. There we go. Or capitate inflorescence. You know, I get that mixed up, inflorescence and flower, but so does everyone at some point in their life. More Wyethia amplexicaulis, of course. They really like the shady areas. And yeah, some more great species. Hopefully we'll find a few more. Another great plant restricted to the more shadier parts of the mountainside. This is Mertensia brevistyla. I think I talked about last year and actually identified it wrong initially, but this is what it is. It's related to the larger Mertensia ciliata, which we commonly know as the mountain bluebell. So yeah, if you recognize this as a species of bluebell, you are correct. Not sure what the common name is, but I don't really give a shit either. Great plant you can find at these elevations, but also higher up. Of course, it's much smaller than the mountain bluebells. Well, I spoke a little bit too soon because I just found an Erythronium grandiflorum in full bloom at about 6,000 feet in elevation, just a little bit above. Well, not just one, there's a few. There's a few a little bit below too, but this is the best one I could find. Lovely drooping flowers, as is characteristic of the genus. Man, it's been such a late spring this year. Regardless, I think this is a great way to cap off the video, so thanks for watching, guys. I hope to see you next time, and I hope you learned something from this. Have a nice day.